Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. I'm Robin, and today we're gonna do something I don't generally do on this channel. We're gonna talk about my March TBR. I don't generally put up TBRs, but I was encouraged by a friend, Ray, to share my TBR with you because I am quite delusional. Delulu is the Salulu, clearly, because it's the only thing that can explain this particular TBR. I have decided to embark on madness, because I said, you know what? I do have a couple of things that I need to read, right? But I was like, I want to participate in middle grade March because fun times. And if you don't know what middle grade March is, it is where you read middle grade books in March. It's hosted by Krista over at Books and Jams and a couple of other friends of hers. And I will link that announcement video down below. But they have prompts, but you don't necessarily have to follow the prompts. And if all you do is just pick up a middle grade, you succeeded. And so I wanted to participate in middle grade March this year. So I was like, okay, yes. And so I am gonna go by the prompts. And then on Jess's Patreon, she is doing Manga March. And so I was like, great, I want to read some more manga, so let me just throw that onto the pile. Oh, so on top of middle grade March, Jess's Manga March, and just general TBR, I also decided, wouldn't it be fun if I participated in Realmathon? If you don't know what Realmathon is, I will also leave that information down below, but it's a month-long readathon where you are put on a team and you read books for either negative or positive points. I am doing it because I'm supporting my good friend Steph over at Stephanie Bookish. She is one of the hosts for Team Blood, and so I'm going to be reading some books for Realmathon because why not? I know one of my goals was to participate in more readathons, and I don't think that this was what my past self was thinking. And by the time I started creating this list, I had gotten to 31 books. But that was, I don't know, weeks ago. And now at this point, I think I'm up to 39 potential books. So maybe this is less of a TBR, more of a list of possibilities. Because what do you think the chances of me reading all of these books are? Because I'm gonna say it's pretty slim to none. So we're gonna talk about what my TBR is, what my list of possibilities are. Maybe you guys can help me narrow down some of the things that I should read, want to read. That's what I'm really hoping for. I need you guys to help me. And I do want to say, I don't know what half of the books are about. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on a synopsis. If I know it, I'll try to tell you. If I don't, we're gonna skip right on past that. The first book I have on my list is an ARC. It is The House on Biscayne Bay by Chanel Cleeton. I have not read any Chanel Cleeton, but I have a couple books by her. But this one is, I think it's told in dual timelines, which I'm starting to realize I love. But this is about a married couple who has to move to Miami from Cuba, I believe, and he is commissioned to build a house or something. The married couple, their relationship starts to crumble, and then in a future timeline, somebody else ends up moving into that house and tragedy kind of strikes. So is the house haunted? Are the people haunted? What's happening? Unclear. I'm gonna find out because I'll be reading The House on Biscayne Bay because I am really just trying to keep up with my arcs this year, and I believe that one comes out in April, so that's why I'm reading it in March. So next on my list is Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. This is the second in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I am buddy reading this with Monet over at Life as Monet. We read the first one together in January. Well, it was a reread for me. All of this is a reread because I've read the whole series. And I think that this is Monet's first time reading it. So we will be reading the second one. I'm really excited to get to this because I have tabbed this up and I didn't realize that I did so much. And so I'm really curious to see what I was thinking when I read this the first time. One of my other buddy reads, which is my monthly buddy read with Ray, we are going to be reading A Stranger in the House by Sherry LaPena. I read The Couple Next Door, and then I got Ray to read The Couple Next Door, and we both loved it. It was a messy good time, so we're both hoping that this one is also a messy time. I don't know what it's about because I don't really care, but I'm gonna go into it expecting to have a good time. Hi, Editing Robin here. Also, I'm adding another buddy read to this list because Steph doesn't know this, but Steph and I will now be embarking on a monthly buddy read together. It's happening. I slightly told her last night, and I don't know if she thought I was serious, but I was. So me and Steph are gonna figure out something to read this month. So those are my 2 buddy reads for the month. Then I have this stack of books here. I have The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd, Imposter Syndrome by Kathy Wang, and Did You Hear About Kitty Carr by Crystal Smith Paul. These are all books that I want to read for a potential video, so I'm hoping to get to these. I know that these are about map makers because they're cartographers. I don't know where the map makers are. Maybe they are in a library somewhere? Where are they trying to get to? I don't know. Imposter Syndrome? Also don't know. We're just gonna say that this is about a woman who has imposter syndrome. I think maybe she works at a tech company. Unclear. Did I make that up? Could be. And did you hear about Kitty Carr? Again, I don't know what this is, but I feel like it is about a socialite who probably has some kind of secret that we don't know, but there are whispers and rumors, and she's probably trying to like get those shut down because she can't ruin her life as a socialite. But I'm really excited to see what it is about. Ooh, it says a multi-generational saga that traverses the glamour of old Hollywood and the seductive draw of modern day showbiz. That's probably what got me. So I will be reading Did You Hear About Kitty Carr? Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. Again, there's so many books on this list that I may or may not get to all of them. For another video that I'm working on, I will be reading The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I read We Have Always Lived in This Castle by Shirley Jackson a couple of years ago, and so I'm trying to give her another shot and see if I like The Haunting of Hill House. And then I've been using a random country generator every month. I wanted to be more intentional about reading books that are either set in another country or the author is from another country. And so for March, the random country generator picked France for me. So I decided to go with a little bit of a thriller. I'm gonna read The Perfect Nanny by Leila Slimani. And I think this is about a woman who goes to be a nanny for a family who lives in Paris. And I think some sinister, weird things start to happen with the nanny and the kids. I know that's translated from French, so that's exciting. It's set in France, Paris, and the author is French. So I'm curious to see where we're going with that. Also, just for me, I have been wanting to pick this up since January when I asked you guys to choose my TBR for January. And one of the picks was to either read Crying in H Mart or I don't remember what the other option was. I'll put it somewhere, but if you also want to watch that video, it's here. But I want to pick up Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a nonfiction memoir of a woman who has kind of maybe a strained relationship with her mother, but I know that her mother either is sick or is passing away, and she talks about, you know, her grief process. So I do want to read that. Now, moving on to Manga March for Jess's Patreon, I think the group pick was to read Full Metal Alchemist, and that's something that I've been wanting to get to, so I'm hoping to read volumes 1 and 2 of Full Metal Alchemist. Also, I want to continue on with The Promised Neverland. I have been loving it so far, so I'm going to be reading volumes 3 and 4 of The Promised Neverland. I also want to continue on with Attack on Titan. I have been dragging my feet about reading Attack on Titan, and I don't know why. Every time I pick it up, I enjoy it. So I'm going to continue on and read volumes 6 and 7 of Attack on Titan. Also, something that I've been loving, Spy Family, and so I think I'll be reading 5 and 6 of Spy Family. I feel like the manga shouldn't be too hard because I feel like they're so fast to get through. I'm not reading like tons and tons of pages. And one of the last mangas that I do want to try to read is Angels of Death by Makoto Sanada. I had started the anime of this and I was really interested in it, about two people trying to escape from this place where like every level is a different version of death or something. I don't know. They're trying to escape. They're trying to get out, but like they have to keep fighting people on each level. It's very weird. And I was like, let me just go ahead and give the manga a try. Hopefully there's not like a huge glare, but I'm going to read at least volume 1 of this because it's the only volume I have and I can't get it from my library. So I would have to buy volume 2, which, I mean, a trip to the bookstore? Terrible. So those are my priority and what to reads, my Manga March reads, and onto my middle grade March reads. So there are 5 prompts for middle grade March this year. These are mostly just options that I have. And I will go through each prompt and tell you what the options are and which ones I'm leaning towards more. So the first prompt is a one-word title. Did my battery die in the middle of this? It did. Probably because it was saying, hell, you're doing too much. And I might be. In fact, let me take a sip of water because I'm thirsty from talking. Anyway, let's get back to what I've got on the list. Middle grade March has 5 prompts. And so each of the prompts I have a couple of options for. Now, am I going to get to all of these? Probably not. But do I have some that I want to get to more than others? Definitely. But we'll just see what I get to, right? First prompt is a one-word title. My options are Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I love the movie Coraline because it's just so creepy. And so I want to know if the book gives me the same creepy feelings. Another option is Witchlings by Claribel Ortega. I know that Ashley over at Bookish Realm has like spoken so highly of this and said she had a really grand time. So I really want to get to this one too. And then we have Ravenfall by Kaylin Josephson. I don't know why, but I feel like a lot of my middle grade picks are more fantasy or witchy books. I don't know why I just am in the mood for that. So those are my choices for one word title. I really want to read Coraline, but I also really want to read Witchlings. Ravenfall is like a maybe, but again, we shall see. The second prompt is an author's debut. The one that I really want to get to is Sincerely Cicely by Tamika Burgess. When I read the synopsis, I really enjoyed what it was about and it seemed like really sweet and endearing. I can't tell you what it's about right now because my memory doesn't work like that. I just know that when I read it, it sounded interesting to me. Then I have Good Different by Meg Eden Cuyat. I think that's her last name, so sorry if it's not. But this is about a neurodivergent girl, Selah, and Selah is just trying to be normal and present herself as normal so that people won't feel uncomfortable around her. But like one day it just builds up to be too much and she just kind of explodes. And so this is really about her just coming to terms and being comfortable with who she is and having other people around her be comfortable with who she is as well. And if they're not, oh well. Also, Genesis Begins Again by Alicia D. Williams. This is about Genesis, whose family life is a little bit tumultuous. She's a little bit embarrassed by it, and there's not a ton of stuff that she likes about herself because of her family situation, because of like what it looks like to other people. But she kind of starts to undergo a process where she realizes that if she starts to like some of the things about herself and she can just be a little bit more positive about certain things, maybe it'll turn some of her situations around. I don't know, but we will find out together if that's true. Actually, I don't know if we're going to find out together if that's true because I don't know that I'm going to read it, but I would like to read it. It's at the top of the things that I want to read for that prompt. And then I have A Field of Screams by Wendy Paris. There is a girl who has to go stay with her family, I think in Iowa, and she really doesn't want to spend her summer there on the family farm, but she starts to get drawn to this remote field and she feels like there's a ghostly presence there, but nobody believes her because why would they? A ghost? Come on, be for real. but she thinks that there is a ghostly presence there. When she goes to the field, she realizes like there's a note, and she kind of thinks that there is a connection between this note, this field, and I guess her missing dad. So she starts to investigate and explore. I think that that sounds like a creepy, spooky good time, and I want to read it. The next prompt is an immigration or refugee story, and the one that I really want to get to is a graphic novel by Victoria Jameson and Omar Muhammad, and that is When the Stars Are Scattered. This is Omar's story about him and his brother living in a refugee camp in Kenya, and he gets the opportunity to go to school, but he knows that if he goes away to school, it will change the projection of his future and his relationship and dynamics with his brother and his family. He like doesn't want to leave them behind. So I think that's going to be a very hard-hitting and compelling story. I've already requested that from my library. It's on its way to me, and I'm gonna go and pick that up and read it and have a grand old time. Also would like to get to Other Words for Home by Jasmine Werga, and this is about a girl who was living in Syria, but things start to get really bad, and she is sent off to live in America. I don't remember what state. I want to say Iowa, but I know it's just because I said Iowa right just before. She goes to move to the US, and things are vastly different than her life in Syria. And so she's just trying to adjust, one, being away from her family, and two, being in a land where she's very different from everyone else. She's not familiar with American culture and language. And so I imagine there's a lot of stuff happening in her mind, and she's just like, how do I deal? So I think like that would be good to read. And then the last thing that I would like to read is Brother's Keeper by Julia Lee, or Julie Lee. Julie, you see it on the screen. But this is about a brother and sister who during the 1950s have to get their way to South Korea. Korea, was it called Korea? I know this sounds so terrible, and I will go look this up afterwards, but like before it was North and South Korea, was it just Korea? I'm gonna look that up. War is coming soon, and they've got to make a decision to move from a very strict communist regime in North Korea to South Korea. And things happen on their way down to South Korea, and it's just her and her brother, and she's got to protect him because it's her little brother. I think like that's going to be a very interesting story to read from. So that is definitely what I want to get to. So those 3 books I really want to read. But am I going to get to all of them? I don't know. Then the 4th prompt is Animal on the Cover. The first book that I definitely want to read is Arusha and the Song of Death. I don't actually know what this one is about. I know it's the sequel. It's the 2nd book in the Pandava series. I read Arusha and The End of Time, and I just had such a fun time. I want to get back to Aru and her group of friends and see what they're getting into trouble with this time. I love the Hindu mythology. I love Aru as a character who you don't always love, but is sometimes relatable. And so I just want to get back there. Also, there's an animal on the cover. I think there's a crab. Then the 2nd book is Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. It is about a girl with cerebral palsy who hates that people see her and just see her as something that is broken, that is just too precious, that needs to be protected all the time. And she's like, I can do things, I am capable, please let me show you that I am capable. And people are just like, no, you're fragile, we can't let you do X, Y, and Z. And so she really goes on a mission to be like, hey, I can do this, I got this. So I think that would be interesting. There's a goldfish on the cover. So an animal on the cover. Also, I think there are animals on some of the other covers, so they may also fit into this prompt for me, but these were 2 that I picked specifically for this prompt. Definitely going to be reading Aru. Out of My Mind, maybe. The last prompt, which is a book that I feel like I missed out on. And that could just be whatever book you feel like you missed out on. So it's not like a specific thing, but I feel like there are tons of things that I've heard people talk about. And I was just like, why wasn't I reading this at the height of it? I mean, I know that books never some books do not age well. I was gonna say books never just like go out, but like some books do not age well. But these books I think are okay. There are two that I have that I think would actually help me decrease my TBR because I'm still trying to do that. But one is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I feel like people are having a grand old time reading this series. I think they're up to like book 8, or maybe there's 8 books total. I don't know. Is this a finished series? I don't know. But I've got the first one here and I would like to get to it. Also for Christmas, my brother got me Tire Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. And so I would like to get to the Trials of Morrigan Crow. I mean, also sounds like a fun time. Also some other books that I have not gotten to yet, but I've heard nothing but good things, and so hopefully I will get to some of them this month, are The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, Howl's Moving Castle. I started this in December and I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I do want to read it. A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I know that this one is also a heartbreaking story. I want to read The Last Cuentista. I remember hearing about this from Angela over at Literature Science Alliance, and ever since she talked about it, I've just been like, I want to read this, and then I have not read it. So yikes to me. Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch. I think this is a duology, so like I can just get to it and read it. And then the last one is From the Desk of Zoe Washington. Anyone I've ever heard talk about it just talks about how it is such a phenomenal read, and I want to find out for myself. Why haven't I picked these things up? I may need to start being more intentional about getting to my middle grades. I feel like I'm always like, oh yeah, I'll read them, and then I never do. And that's on me. That's a me problem. So those are my potential reads for March. I'm sure that a lot of these books will help me fulfill prompts for Realmathon. So, you know, whatever I decide to read from Manga March, Middle Grade March, and just my regular TBR will factor into Realmathon prompts. But yeah, that's all I've got. It was a lot. It was a lot. I know. And if there's any on this list that you're like, you need to get to this immediately, let me know down below. Are you guys participating in any readathons this month? Are there any books that you're like, I definitely need to get to this month, because if I don't, then the earth will end? I know that's a little dramatic, but you know, you get what you get with me. I guess we'll see each other in April and see how I did, if I did anything at all. Until next time. Bye.